Good morning, everyone. So first of all, I would like to thank Pain Malaysia and PAM Sarak chapter for having this meaningful event. So today I'm going to share about projects that being involving in architecture competitions. So it might be more on concept and design based rather than technical side. So I'm Esther. So I believe observation for an architect is important, so that I love painting, taking photograph, and also traveling. So I believe like observation on the community, culture, food, and something else that will become some sort of inspiration for us in later on. And also I believe that observing detailings and material in real is important also because we can like feel and look at the texture of it. Yeah, so I'm born and grown up in Johor Bahru. After that, I had my architecture studies in Kuala Lumpur, and now I'm working in Singapore. And this weekend, I'm spending my time in Kuching, so this is my very first time here. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so my path in architecture, in the year 2010, I started my part one in UPM. So there's like some of my beloved lecturers like Puan Rose, Architect Zamri, and also Architect Mio, which I think they really like inspire us a lot during my part one studies and encourage us to take part in different events or competition. Which one of it is AYDA, which I will talk about soon. Talk about it soon. So after that, after my part one, I actually work in Y Architect in JB, and in that year I received some kind of academic excellence award from PAM. And after that, I continued my part two in University Malaya, and there is my related Prof. Sari and Architect Neom, which I think that influenced me quite a lot in later on. And so now I'm working in Park and Associate, a firm in Singapore, which my main role is an architectural designer. Oops. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the project that I submitted for this competition, but it is like 6 years back, so yeah. This is my third year project. So I submitted this for the competition, and it is about Iskandar Malaysia Tourism Promotional and Training Center. So these are the presentation boards that I submitted that time. Okay, so I think I started this project based on the site because for tourism promotional center, I believe that the participation of people is really important so that it helps to promote the tourism. So I started from study about the urban nodes and disease, like where the human flow are, where the local gather and where the tourists came for. So by that, it will lead me to the spatial planning of my building later on. And also there are some sketches, I believe sketches really helps us to convey idea and to know somehow imagine what's the space we want. Okay, so for this, I actually break down, instead of having a building in a big mess, so I actually break down the building into three zoning. So one will be really a public space that open for everyone to go in and out. Then the other one is for some tourism agency to have their booth or exhibition there. And the other one is a space for training and offices and those things. So on this first floor, so there's a feature space in this building, which is an open stage. So it connects. It actually connects the main route into the building, which is the main pedestrian floor. So this stage is actually acting as an urban platform. So like any event or performance can be happening there, so that when people pass by, you can just notice it, and if you can just feel free to walk in and sit down and watch the performance. So underneath it is actually the drop-off point for the vehicles. So actually I divided and some sort of separate the circulation for the vehicle and the pedestrians, so that they're not crashing to each other. Okay, and yeah, for the porosity and connectivity is also another point in this building, where for the porosity is like when we are standing outside of the building, we actually can get the hints of knowing like what's happening inside the building. And also like for the upper floor of this building, the building actually break out and separate to each other. However, I think there's like communal plaza at the ground floor to connect these three buildings together. And going up to the upper floor, there's also like some pocket spaces and ledges to let people in different blocks to have some visual connectivity. And also flexibility of the use of space, which I believe for a building to going through a long time to be timeless, flexibility use of space is important, so that it can be adjusted and changes based on what's the need of the local, the social that time. Okay, so that's all for my sharing for my competition project for AYDA. So now I am an architectural designer. So what does a designer do in a firm? Okay, so this is some sweet thing that we do in the office. Like sometimes I need to draw some graphic or illustration to help for the presentation. And also like every year we will handcraft the Christmas tree. And also we have the little cat in the office. Like you see my colleagues actually like bullying him, but yeah, it's quite fun to have something different in the office. But actually most of the time we work really hard to come up with idea that is quite different from something innovative. So I'm going to share two projects that I am being involving in this firm for the architecture competition. Okay, so the first one is actually Waterfront Community Theatre at Esplanade. So I believe if you are familiar with Singapore, you will know that there's an Esplanade that looks like, people say it looks like a durian shell. So okay, the site is actually like next to it, the one in red color. So the client, which is the Esplanade, that actually aims to propose a new theatre that reflect and be part of the Esplanade younger, more casual and a relaxed one. Means they want this new theatre to be like quite close to the community. So some of the studies that we consider in this project is like this new theatre is actually not standing alone in an empty site, but it is actually sitting together with all the landmarks in this area. So that is one thing that we need to consider. And also like facing to the waterfront, it actually play an important role on like its impact to the urban. So that's something that we consider. So that's why we decided to tilt it in certain angle to respond better to the site. Okay, so this is the view from waterfront. So actually, as we can see, like we tilt the theater, so it encourages physical and visually connectivity along the two sides. Because we are not we are not always like looking at the building at one point, but like in this case, like people coming around from different direction. That's why we try to relate it in most of the direction that we can consider. So by tilting this, we also being able to keep as much urban space, which I think green urban space is quite limited in city like Singapore. So we're trying to not to take out much of it. Yeah. And oops. Okay, and in the crime brief, they actually wanted a pedestrian walkway to connect some landmark building to this theater. And then that time we are thinking like, it is kind of like boring if you just build like a normal pedestrian walkway in this prominent area. So and in the end we came up with like a cloud link. So it is actually like some kind of installation structure which acts as a shelter and also a leading way to lead people to this theater. And in the same time, under this shelter, we can have different activities to happen. Okay, so for theater to look like very community friendly, so we are thinking like, how should it look like? Because normally when we think of theater, it looks like quite grand, like really, really iconic to the city. But in this case, we are doing a theater for community, so we think that it should look like more humble, more laid back, so that community, like local people who come there won't feel like, oh, I'm going to somewhere like really serious today. So by this, we actually like wanted to use the structure as a facade. So by using those truss system, which enable us to have a like really column-free space in the theater, which can be counted for different kind of performance. And also by doing this, we can have the raw aesthetic, keeping the design language simple and coherent. And also like, okay, we in this project, we also work with acoustic consultant, and they told us actually for theater, we doesn't really need a second skin. So by this, we are using like glass, so that it is transparent when you look from far or even near. So it is like you can have a direct connection with what's happening inside. So it is feel free, like it will feel more like an what? Yeah. So to give the community a stronger sense of belonging. Okay, and another something interesting is that we're trying to reinterpret the foyer area, because normally foyer area is like a space to gather people before the performance start, and also for ticketing purposes, something like that. So we are thinking like, why not we also provide this space as a secondary stage for even casual performance, like an amphitheater type, where people can really sit there like anytime. Yeah. And also something extra that we do for this competition is we also think about the branding of it, because I think branding is quite an important thing to like promote to the people. So we have something like the adopt a crowd activities, some interactive media happening inside the building, and also like wayfinding, like we also try to design some signage and also logos for this theater. So it really feels like there's that involvement there. Okay. So the next project I'm going to share is actually a new Soka Center. It's also located in Singapore, in a younger area called Punggol. So Soka is actually Soka Gakkai is a Japanese Buddhism religion. So the client actually came to us saying that they actually bought a new land in this area and they wanted to build a new center. And they told us that their center can be looking like, it can be any form, any look. So it is up to us. But there's something that they still want to keep it is like they want to be friendly to the community. So this is the site which sits right at the corner. So by this, we can see actually the building is like having two faces to the main road. So this will be one of the consideration later on when we decide how our facade will respond to the site. Some of the function required in this center. So mainly is the red color one is the prayer hall and the prayer room. And there's an exhibition area, a wedding hall, and also M&E and offices in the brew. Okay, this is when we put all the functions together and we realize after the setback, this is what we can do. It's just like a humongous block on the site. And for this site, it's actually located like next to all the HDB, which is like an apartment in Singapore. So it is a residential area. And we think that actually like this humongous block actually is really quite unfriendly to the neighborhood. So that's why we come up with some key concept for this center. So first one is the connectivity with connection with community on the ground on every floor, monumentality, not the beacon, and also mental disciple. So the first one will be the connectivity with community. Okay. Okay, so because in Singapore, most of the people like taking public transports and like buses and MRT, so people really walks a lot. And this is in neighborhood, so it's a site that people will pass by. So we decided to actually like bring up the building, empty out the footprint of this building. But then we're thinking like, maybe it is not really efficient to just lift out the building because it is like quite two-dimensional. It's just one level of visual. And then we decided to have like, to give even more shelter when the people walk along. Okay, so this is the ground floor planning. As you can see, it is quite free flow and really empty out the space because we are thinking like this center, this area could actually provide like an urban living room for the people there. Yeah, so this is how we imagine the space would look like. So it's really like free, people can really free to walk in and sitting down, something like that, with greeneries. Okay. Okay, the second point is green on green. We actually like wanted all the prayer halls and prayer room to feel like on the ground. Even though we have limited space on the ground, when we bring it up to the upper floor, we actually wish them to have like visual to the outside, to have the green. So this is the main prayer hall. Like as we can see, we try to bring the opening down below our sitting level. So when we sit, we can still feel like it is actually on the ground floor where we are connected with the greeneries. And also for the wedding hall on the rooftop, like the material selection on timber and also natural stone, which give us feels like a cozy space. So this is how the spaces are being created in this center. So on the left is the pocket, like some boxy spaces. It's actually the prayer room. So the prayer hall, those bigger space, you will actually put it at the back of the site. Yeah. So this section shows like how we get the sunlight in for every space, because it is like because it is a religious building. We somehow still wish to achieve some poetic space for this. So the third one is monumentality, not. Okay, instead of having the building in a bigger mass, we actually try to break down the scale so that it is it feels more human scale when you actually walk by the site. And by this, we actually can create more spaces in between. Okay, so this is a short GIF on some exploration that we did for this project. So we actually gone through like quite many schemes and figuring how should this center looks like. So, okay, so in the end, we actually decided to submit this, something more simple and humble. Okay, the beacon is also one point that we want to achieve in this center. So in the night, when the lights is, where the sky becomes dark, the prayer room, which facing to the corner of the room, actually acts like a wooden lanterns that grow and grow in this area. So the last point is mental disciple, which linkage often considered as secondary space, but in this case we try to avoid it. Means besides the fire staircase that we provided, we actually need like another vertical circulation so that the hall on the upper level, they can have a spill out space and spill out circulation in this center. So by this, we're actually thinking of maybe we can do something different for the central circulation. So we try to actually connect this vertical circulation with prayer rooms, putting them together as a part of an architectural experience. So linkage can be acting as an interaction space also. So its function is made visible to the public. So circulation is also much as one continuous architecture experience. So it creates opportunity and spontaneous informal social exchange. And also, so by this is like, it is a space that people can just walk up and down. So it is quite free to explore. Yeah, and actually for this scheme, for this competition, we also submitted another scheme because what we want is actually to make this building quite formless, which we don't want like, when you see this building, it is this form in this kind of manner. So for this option, we actually like use some kind of interesting material like a metal change, which actually in real life, it looks like the fabric that wrapping up the building. So it will somehow look like this. So, and this is how for this scheme, it will look at night. So, okay, that's all for my sharing today. Thank you, everyone.